I think we have a Muslim. Someone said they're going to come debate us on the Islamic dilemma. So, Adam, welcome to the live stream.
Yeah, hi, how are you doing?
We're good. Are you Muslim?
Yes, I am Muslim.
All right, great. Welcome. So, you wanted to debate the Islamic dilemma?
Yeah, could we focus particularly on like the New Testament and the Injil?
And as it relates to the Islamic dilemma, sure, okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Because I think that it's a bit harder to circumvent it for the Old Testament, but
I agree.
I think a Muslim has more leeway for the New Testament.
You are correct. Muhammad was interacting with Jews a lot more, and so you have a lot more on that. And then you've got the Hadith, where he actually talks to a copy of the Torah, and so comparatively less about the Injil. So you're right.
So, well, what do you guys imagine the Injil to be?
So Injil, the Arabic word Injil is an Arabic transliteration that goes back to the Greek word euangelion, which means good news, and we call that gospel. So it's the Quran is confirming that the Christians have some book called the Evangelion or the Gospel, that it's Greek because that's a Greek title.
Hey, Adam, I'm just going to mute you when you're not talking because you're getting some feedback. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, and because the word used is Injil, which again is a transliteration of Evangelion. Evangelion was a specific. It wasn't just any sort of good news. It was particular kinds of good news, and we've talked about this before. But so Evangelion means good news or good message, and so you might think that this is any sort of good news. If you hear some good news from home or something, that's not. It were particular kinds of good news. In other words, the word has a specific meaning. It referred to a new king coming to power and taking over the empire. It referred to a decisive military victory over forces of the barbarian hordes and stuff like that, the forces that are coming up against you. In its Jewish context, it referred to God bringing his people out of the captivity that they were in and God returning to be enthroned over his people. So those are the meanings of the word in the first century. So the Quran is agreeing that that's what the book the Christians have is called. You got a problem there because nothing that the Quran says about what Jesus accomplished has anything to do with the meaning of the word. But anyway, the Quran is affirming that this book is the Injil. Guess what? From the 2nd century onward, the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were treated as a unit called the fourfold gospel or just the gospel. So if you talk to Christians and you say the gospel and you're talking about a written text, that would mean you could be talking about one particular gospel and call that the gospel. But if you're just talking about the book the Christians have and you say the gospel, that would at least be the 4 Gospels treated as a unit, if not the entire New Testament. But the overarching idea is that, so that's how it would be understood by Christians. If you walked up to a Christian in the 7th century and you said, hey, let's talk, you guys got the gospel, you're supposed to judge by the gospel, a Christian would take that as the fourfold gospel or just the entire New Testament. So either the 4 Gospels or the New Testament. That's what it would mean, which means if Allah means something different from that, if he means something different, he means no, some other gospel or something like that, he needs to clarify and explain that he means something. Otherwise, it would be like me coming up to you as a Muslim and saying, hey guys, I affirm the Quran. You've got the Quran. The Quran is from God. I'm talking about the Quran that you read. I'm talking about the Quran. You have to judge by that Quran. And then someone comes along later and he says, no, he was talking about some other Quran, not the one you have. You'd be like, wait, what? Why didn't he like clarify that? So that's kind of the idea here is the Quran is talking about the book that the Christians have. It's telling us to judge by it. It assumes we know what he's talking about. If you're telling me to judge by a book, and here's the title of the book, this assumes that I know what you're talking about. So Allah tells us to judge by it. He says we're reading it.
Okay.
If it's talking about something else, then Allah would be a really bad communicator.
So you say it's either the fourfold gospel or the New Testament.
I'm saying that's how it would be understood by any Christian you're talking to in the ancient world, because that's how they use the terms.
So I did do some research on the singular use of Injil in the Quran, and so it does appear that the 4 Gospels were in fact treated as one unit. It was one gospel from 4 different accounts.
Correct.
And there was many harmonies, such as the Diatessaron.
Yes.
It was just one gospel. So, in response to that, I would say that, just based from that, a Muslim can reject the rest of the New Testament. They can reject Paul's letters. They can reject the book of Revelation. So, for a Muslim, that's pretty good. But it's still not enough because the Gospels still contradict the Quran. So, there's still more work to do for that. So, for the Gospel...
So what's the answer to the Islamic dilemma?
My definition of Gospel is, it's a book that was given to Jesus, and this book that was given to him, he preached it. He preached this book that was given to him. It was revelation, probably from the Holy Spirit or the angel Gabriel. Like, do you know the Sermon on the Mount?
Yes.
Yep.
Do you know that famous painting where Jesus is like, his hand is in the air, he's preaching on the rock?
Yep.
So, when the Quran says gospel, it's probably referring to that, what Jesus preached.
The Sermon on the Mount?
The Sermon on the
you
Mount?
mean the Sermon on the Mount specifically, or you mean just anything?
No, not just the Sermon on the Mount, but like something like that where he's in front of a crowd, he's preaching.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing: if the Quran talks about us reading the gospel and judging by the gospel, you would agree that whatever, if it's referring to what Jesus preached, it had to be written down at some point for Christians to be reading it in the 7th century, right?
Yes.
Okay. So where would they be reading the Sermon on the Mount in the 7th century?
Where would they be reading this? In the Synoptic Gospels.
Okay, so it would be those texts, right?
Yes, but not all of the texts.
So we would just read parts of it.
Yeah.
Which parts?
What Jesus preached, like that's what.
Wait, so wait, hang on. Are you just saying that so we call this red letters in Christianity? In other words, there are certain Bibles where if it's actually Jesus speaking, it puts it in different color letters, it puts it in red letters, and then if it's someone else like narrating or something like that, they just have that in regular black text. So you're saying that the Quran? Yeah. Are you saying basically the Quran is affirming the red letters, the words of Jesus?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because guess what? We're fine with that, and so. We leave it open to Muslims. So I tell Muslims basically along the lines of, if you're talking to a Christian and you say the Injil, he would interpret that as he could interpret that as like one particular gospel, more likely as the 4 Gospels or the entire New Testament. So I tell Muslims, like, take your pick, whatever you think is most likely. It could be talking about the entire New Testament. But I agree with you what the Quran says does not demand that. And so you can toss out the rest after the 4 Gospels, and you have at least some reason to think that the Quran is not affirming the rest of the New Testament, or you can't say it. You don't have good evidence that the Quran is affirming the entire New Testament in the same way that you do have good evidence that it's affirming.
By the way,
affirming the Gospels.
I do think that there is good evidence that this is what the Quran imagines the Injil to be, because do you know Surah 48:29?
Yep.
So it's the only time where the Quran ever quotes the gospel, and it's Jesus' own words. It was the parable of the mustard seed.
Yeah, I have a video on 5 times in the Muslim sources that it's clearly quoting the Christian sources here. But yeah, so I would grant that, like, I would leave it up to a Muslim. Like, you tell us what the Quran is affirming. Is it the entire New Testament? Is it the 4 Gospels? Is it one gospel, or is it something else? But you're saying it's basically the red letters, and we can run the Islamic dilemma just from the red letters, because Jesus,
Really?
Yeah, Jesus calls himself the Son of God. Jesus predicts his death by crucifixion and so on. So right here, tell the vision to no one until the Son of Man is risen from the dead.
Okay, can we talk about that Son of God part really quickly?
Okay.
Do you think that contradicts the Quran? Jesus calls himself the Son of God.
Yeah, the Quran explicitly says that Jesus is not the son of Allah.
Yeah, Surah
But in
9,
what sense?
Surah 9, in any sense. In what sense can you say you're the son of God according to the Quran? Not according to like
Wait, how
anything
do you
you're
know
thinking.
you can't say it in any sense? What if you're just a noble person?
Okay, so is there any example where a noble person is called the son of God in Islam, son of Allah?
No.
So the only thing you have is the denial of that.
You don't have confirmation. You just have denial. You can't go on denial. You have to provide evidence. If I can go around saying I'm the son of Allah, then I need evidence from Muhammad that he did it, because he's the greatest according to you, right? Was he called the son of Allah?
Who's called the son of Allah? Jesus?
No, you said a noble person can be son of Allah.
Was Muhammad noble?
Was Muhammad not noble?
Well, okay, listen. Yes, he was noble, but he's not.
Okay,
the
so
son
was
of
he
God.
called the son of Allah or no?
No, he's not called the son of
Okay,
God.
Would you be willing to call Muhammad the son of Allah?
No, but like
Why not?
you
Why
guys,
not? Why
okay,
not?
Listen, why not? Because he doesn't have that title in the Quran. He never tells
But you
us.
said noble. You said noble people can have this title.
So how can you say that and then not
No, it was
follow
in
through with action?
the Sharia of Moses. It was allowed.
Okay, do you have any evidence from that, from Islam?
Well, doesn't the Quran affirm the gospel? So isn't that intuitive?
That's the dilemma, though. This is the dilemma. So the Quran in chapter, for example, like a metaphorical use of the word of the children of God, for example, in chapter 5, verse 18, it says that the Jews and Christians call themselves the beloved and children of Allah.
And then
But
Allah
how do
says
they
no.
do that when Allah punishes them for their sins?
Well, how do you know it's not a biological?
Because no Jew or Christian has ever meant calling themselves son of God in a biological sense.
So
The point is the Quran even condemns Jews and Christians for calling themselves sons of God.
Can we go to that verse where
we got it up here.
Yeah,
it says that Jews and Christians call themselves the sons of God?
Right here.
Right here.
Yeah, it's right here. So, but the Jews and the Christians say, we are the children of Allah and His beloved. Why does He punish you for your sins? Rather, you are human beings from among those He has created. He forgives whom He wills, and He punishes whom He wills. Okay?
Okay, so I have a question.
Sure.
Do you believe that the Quran is addressing Son of God in any sense? Like, don't say you're the children of God? Or do you believe this is biological?
It's rejecting the only sense Jews and Christians would say they're the children of God is in like children of God is like a metaphorical sense. So if he says don't say that, you're just human beings. Obviously, Jews and Christians weren't saying we're the biological offspring of God, something like that. So it's rejecting the metaphorical use of this saying.
Well, I would say that response to that, there are some Christian writings that do state that we're the seed of God, we're His seed, and that when we die, we're gonna like be His children in paradise. I think that's what Paul. I've never read Paul's letters, but. You have
Paul in I'll tell you where to find it. You have Paul in Acts 17, and he's telling people that just by natural revelation they've been able to figure things out about God, and he says we are His offspring. And so, but Paul doesn't mean we're like biological offspring of God. He means it like the same sense we mean.
I think it's. Have you read it?
Yeah, let's focus on this first. Okay. So you wanted to. So we want to see, like, does the Quran allow for anyone to be called a child of Allah in any sense? And so you were saying that the instances where it's talking about Jesus, that's in a biological sense. Okay, that's what you're claiming.
That's my argument. Yeah.
But as David pointed out, there were Jews and Christians were not going around saying that they're the biological offspring of God. They weren't going around saying that, and Allah is refuting them. He's not saying. Look what he's saying. He's saying, rather, you're human beings from among those He has created. He forgives those whom He. So why does He punish you for your sins? So the implication here is like because you sin, you can't be a child of God.
Yeah, He didn't.
Right?
And
you're from those whom He has created. So the fact that they sin and are created means that they're not the children of Allah. So it's not saying, oh, you could be the child of Allah in this sense if you were noble or something like that, like what you're saying, right? It's saying, no, He punishes you for your sins. But actually, this is actually His ignorance of what the Bible actually teaches. The Bible teaches that God chastises people for their sins, His children, because He loves them. So this actually shows an ignorance of the biblical revelation. But just to respond to your point, what would you say to that?
I would say that I would argue. I know you're not going to agree with this, but I don't think this verse is actually condemning that. I think what's going on here is it says, "We're His children and His beloved," but then the next sentence says, "Then why do you chastise you for your sins?" I think Muhammad is like condemning the Jews and Christians for claiming that like God loves them so much that he's not going to punish their sins because we're His children.
Oh.
Okay, so this would be a metaphorical usage of children of God or child of God. The Quran again negates the usage here. Okay, so what we're saying is no matter what instance the Quran talks about child of God in, whether you're claiming it's biological, which the Quran does talk about Allah having it being impossible for Allah to have a biological son because he doesn't have a partner. In chapter 6, verse 101, it says that Allah doesn't have a companion, so therefore he cannot have a son. So it does talk about Allah having a biological son, but it's negating that because it's saying he doesn't have a female companion. This is an instance here where it's talking about the metaphorical usage. You would have to provide us with something where it's a positive, or you could use it in a sense. That's what you'd have to provide us with.
How about this? Why? Okay, I'm gonna give you this proposal, and you can say why you don't agree with it. So why can't we say that maybe perhaps previous prophets were allowed to use these titles? It was exaggerated, and God no longer wants these titles to be used.
Because we need evidence for that. You can't make stuff up. You can't say, well, maybe in the past this happened because maybe in the past I was Superman. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to have evidence. So if in Islam this was allowed, I need evidence from you, from the Quran or from Muhammad saying it by his mouth.
Yeah. So if you look at the specific condemnation here,
that's what I was going to ask you to go to, Jay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can make the point then. Go ahead. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to point out. So yeah, it says the Jews say. So in other words, if all we had to go on was 518 or something like that, I think you can make a case. Well, maybe here, but it's like you have a bunch of things in the Quran and they all tie together. So one of the things here is the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. And the Quran, it says, may Allah destroy them. It calls for their destruction for saying the words, Ezra is the son of Allah. Now, we have no record of Jews anywhere saying Ezra is the son of Allah.
Could I make a side comment on that?
Yeah. One second. I'm just finished. No, okay, I'm not even criticizing that. I'm pointing out that. So Muslims will say maybe it applied to one group or something like this or that. The point here is, if we assume that Jews somewhere did call Ezra the son of God, it would be absolutely crazy to think they meant in a biological sense. In other words, if you somehow found evidence that Jews somewhere called Ezra the son of God, it would have been something along the lines in the sense you're talking about, where he's so great and he's this great ruler or something like that. We're just going to call him. Again, there's no record that they did that, but if they did, they would not mean in a biological sense. So if the Quran is condemning Jews for calling Ezra the son of God, it would be condemning some sort of metaphorical use and saying they need to be destroyed, which would be strange if it was allowed for them.
Right.
All right. So, two things to say about this verse. Number one, I don't even think Uzair is Ezra. I think it's another person. Do you know who Eleazar is? Rabbi Eleazar?
Yeah.
So there's been research. They basically look in the Talmud, the Midrash. They look at sources before the Quran, and a lot of people think that it's referring to this rabbi. His name is Eleazar. He claimed to be the works say he was the divine son of God.
Wait. What calls him the divine son of God? What calls him the divine son of God?
Hello?
Yeah, we're here. What text calls Rabbi Eliezer the divine son of God?
Yeah, where'd you find that?
It was a long presentation by this guy named Holger, where he does like I can send you the video link, but I don't have it on me right now.
Okay, yeah. There's, as far as I know, Rabbi Eliezer is never called the divine son of God anywhere in Jewish texts. So you'd have to give us evidence of that. But I don't have it on Eliezer. How is Eliezer or there either? I don't get that either. How is the connection there? Or there Eliezer? What?
Well, okay, that can be debated, but as for the Jesus, Son of God, notice how the verse says they say it with their mouths, they say it with their tongues. It means they say it, but they don't know the meaning of it.
Does it say they don't know the meaning of it?
Yeah, it doesn't say they say it with their hearts. It says they say it with their tongues.
It says that they imitate those who disbelieved from before. So what you're saying, this is what David was just pointing out. What you're saying is that these titles were allowed before, but the Quran is saying no, they're imitating disbelievers from before. So you're saying the Quran.
Do you not see what the verse says?
Hold on. So you're saying that the Quran is coming and it's abrogating something that was allowed before. This is saying that no, they're imitating disbelievers from before. So the disbelievers, the ones who disbelieved, are the ones who are saying this according to the Quran. So it's not saying that, oh, people were allowed to call like Uzair the son of Allah, whoever he was, or the Messiah the son of Allah. Back then that was allowed, and now it's not allowed. It's saying no, even back then when they're doing that, or they're doing it today, they're imitating those people who disbelieved back then. So in other words, time and time again, whenever you find son of Allah or children of Allah or anything like that, anywhere in the Quran, it's always in a negative context being condemned. You're never going to find it being spoken of positively.
Well,
and in fact, you find it saying, and once you go to chapter 19, like 88 onwards, etc., it will say that the highest relationship you can have with Allah is slave to master.
And that the universe is ready to fall apart whenever someone says Allah has a son.
I don't really have anything else to say. I'm probably going to leave.
One second, before you go, we just wanted to get your take on this verse. What does this mean to you? Chapter 43, verse 81. Say if the Most Merciful had a son, Muhammad speaking here, or he's being commanded to speak here, then I would be the first of his worshippers. So according to you, does Allah have a son in any sense?
He doesn't have a biological son.
Okay, but it doesn't say biological. But does Allah have a son in any sense?
This is what the Quran says about Christians. You guys take everything to the extreme.
Okay,
could you just answer though?
Yeah.
So are you asking verse 43? It says.
I'm asking you. Does Allah have a son in any sense?
In any sense?
Yes.
He does in some sense.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
according to the Quran, Muhammad, and if you want to follow Muhammad's example, follow the sunnah of Muhammad, then you should worship whoever that is, the son of Allah, whoever that is, you should be his worshipper.
Yeah, because it doesn't say any sense. It just says a son. It doesn't say which sense. So now you committed shirk, because there's nowhere anywhere in Islam, and I'm happy for you to show me where it says it's allowed in any sense. Please give me one scholar of Islam or Muhammad or Quran or anyone.
Don't Shias say it's allowed?
Shias? Are you a Shia?
I don't think the Shia say it's allowed.
I'm not a Shia. I'm a Sunni.
Okay.
So
why don't you become a Shia?
No. Well,
wait, so if you're Sunni, that's even worse, because your scholars have ruled.
Yeah, I have to admit,
that Allah is. Your scholars have actually ruled that Allah is not a father, and He's never been a father.
And your scholars say that Shias are kafirs. So
I have to admit, Shias have an easier time with this dilemma than Sunnis, if I'm going to be honest.
So why don't you become a Shia?
Oh, better yet, just leave it all and become a Christian.
Yeah, because this is because.
No. Well, I don't believe in the Trinity. That's why.
Okay, well, we can.
You don't believe in the Quran either, because you just said Allah can have a son, and the verse in front of you says you can't.
No, it's not. It's not a biological relationship.
But where are you getting that from? Like you're
so
reading
the
that
Quran
into text.
says, I think there's a verse in the Quran where it says, Allah, how can he have a son if he has no consort?
Chapter 6, verse 101. Yeah,
Right.
That clearly implies a biological relationship.
Yeah, that does.
Yeah, but this doesn't.
The Quran also talks about adoption as well. It says that if Allah wants to take a son from among His creation, He can as well. So that's an adoptive sense as well.
اتخذ ولدا.
Yeah, اتخذ ولدا.
To take one that isn't yours.
So it's taking.
Oh, is it that verse where it says God, if He wanted to, He can choose any of His creatures and He can take
to make a son.
And He takes them. So He's not giving birth. So what we're saying is the Quran goes over these different senses of what does it mean to have a son, right? And it denies every single one of them that we can see, unless you can provide something to the opposite.
Yeah, Islam has 1400 years.
Well,
now.
I think
if there was allowed, you don't think one scholar would say it's allowed?
Well, then I think the Gospels are corrupted then.
Well,
Oh, wait, then you fell into
Really?
the Islamic dilemma. You just
Yeah.
fell into the Islamic dilemma.
yeah, because the Quran confirms
Yes.
these
Yeah.
prophets.
So, and you'd basically have to change your position on the Islamic dilemma, because your position was that the Quran is affirming the red letters of Jesus, but Jesus calls himself the Son of God and says he's going up to Jerusalem to
doesn't
die
work.
by crucifixion. So you'd have to change. You'd have to say it's talking about something else,
Well, why
So-
can't the Gospels be corrupted according to the Quran?
because no one can change Allah's words.
Come on, that's about the preserved tablets.
Where does
Oh,
it
okay.
say, where does it say that? It doesn't say that. You just added that.
It says it in the tafsirs.
Okay, bring it.
Actually,
It doesn't.
there's another.
Whoa, whoa! He just said it's in the Tafsirs. Surah 2,
Okay,
verse
great.
79 says, "Woe to those who write a book and say this is from Allah." So if you're saying it says it in the Tafsir, and you're saying that's what Allah really meant, even though He never said it in the Quran, but the Tafsir said it, then you're in violation of 279 of the Quran. You're taking something else as the word of Allah.
270. Wait, why would that violate 279?
If you're taking, if you go to a commentary and say, "See, here's what Allah is really saying," and it's not something Allah said, then you're taking a book
How do you know
written
the
by men.
commentaries aren't right?
How do you,
Because they're contradicting. Because they're contradicting.
Yeah, they're contradicting Allah.
Yeah. So,
So-
Adam, so it sounds like you're kind of working through this, because when you first came on,
Which is good.
which is
Yeah,
good, we appreciate that. So, why don't you follow up with us? Think about these things, pray about these things to the true God. Say, God, show me the truth, no matter the cost, no matter the consequences. Give me the
on a
strength.
side note,
Give me the,
yeah,
give me the, give me the strength, give me the courage to follow the truth no matter what, and
All right.
see what happens. Come back to us. We'd be curious to see, where you go at with this, because we'd like to see, people thinking about these issues and wrestle with them and see where you guys land. So,
and I
oh
also
yeah,
want,
thank you for letting me on the stream. I really
No, of
appreciate that
course.
you guys do open discussions.
yeah, for sure.
Of course, and
Welcome.
also remember that you didn't want the epistles of Paul, but then you used Paul in one of your arguments.
Paul, I don't believe Paul's writings are divinely inspired.
Yeah, but you used him though in one of your arguments about
The seed.
the seed.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming, Adam. And yeah, definitely follow up with us in the future. Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Okay.
too.
Have a good day.
That is pretty cool, and you can definitely see the people who are like trying to think through these issues seriously, and those who are just like regurgitating the Dawa script they got from their Dawa guy and aren't thinking about it at all. They're just like spouting something that they heard. So yeah, Adam's cool. He's welcome to call in anytime.